Hey you guys, this is the debut of my 2 Medusa Class Wars Finals team. I had been, I guess, sort of plotting this, not completely to myself, but with only talking about with a few friends about, how it would be a good idea. And I think nobody else really committed other than one of my friends who ended up, like, sleeping through Class Wars. So I really wanted to try it. The one in the back is the Medusa that I think most people have seen me play with at some point in time, my orange one, very, very strong. And the one in the front is about 50 KBR, which is more than, most sylphs in the game, but definitely at this level, many of these players have multiple sylphs that are well over 90 KBR. Here, I think Asher forgot to put on her other troop, which is a little unfortunate, but it's only the first fight for her, and I think she does all right. But yeah, I didn't mind kind of sitting back and letting my opponents do some of the work. The Medusas aren't just about blocking a Delphic immediately, so I think, most of my opponents, I think, still get out their first Delphic. The really nice part about it is that I can stop them from getting back into Sylph mode. And Steel, which is definitely the most OP AoE Sylph skill in the game, not only takes away Awakening from my opponents, it also gives Awakening to me. So even though I don't have this Medusa on, somehow I get the Awakening points. So it's not enough steals to be able to do 2 Delphics, just with the timing and the cooldowns, but it is enough to sit around and just use, my basic attack, and Devour Soul has a 15-second cooldown, so I can do that once in a while. So in this case, choosing to have that 1-second cooldown skill is very helpful for this type of, I guess, build or setup with the Sylphs. And I think, I don't know if to myself, I'm hoping that at least a few of my opponents get a good laugh out of it. I sure was giggling to myself probably a little too much using this spec. But yeah, so there's the 30% buff. Yeah, a little LOL from Asher, and yeah, just using that 1-second cooldown. A lot of these fights, they go to the timer, so people don't die. Everybody has so much dark resistance. I mean, I would say that pretty much every single opponent I had okay, well, I don't know about every person that I talk to from the top 16 probably has well over 1100, 1200 dark resistance. So, I mean, the Sylphs are not doing insane damage the way they used to. You might be able to wipe somebody out with a Delphic. But that was nice, a lot of my victories come through having dealt more damage, and a huge part is them not being able to get back into Sylph mode, and me just being able to sit there and take them out. So I got Moran a second fight, which I wasn't too pleased about. Sometimes you want to kind of push some of the much higher BR players sort of to the middle, I would say. You kind of want like some easier fights at the beginning to ease your way into things, and then toward the end you also kind of want some easier fights. But I prefer kind of having those really tough ones somewhere in the middle. But I'm sure it's just by some sort of random generator who I end up fighting. We say all the best, and he's a very good player. He's come a long ways. I think he's been in the top 16 for a few months now, maybe, and between, I think, also becoming a better PvP player and also gaining a ton of BR, definitely one of the top 2 people as far as just sheer player BR. Well, maybe top 3. I think Lala, Solara, and Moran probably have the most BR of the bunch, and so yeah, he's just very tough. Definitely has big time sylphs, but I just feel like I'm doing nothing. Like, everything that I do, it's not do anything. I was talking to Solara, he showed me his BR, and he showed me, I think, Moran's and maybe a couple other people I've seen, and these are people who have like over 700 KBR. Here, when I've used like every temporary amount that I have, everything that I could possibly do to get some extra BR. I think I even did a few more levels of Soul Engrave or Soul Mark, just to try and be able to do anything here, and it helped a lot by all means. But I mean, look at that! Like it didn't do anything to his sylphs, and so yeah, I get beat up pretty badly. I was told that somebody said through the grapevine that I was actually one of the people who did the best against Moran, which I guess is a compliment. But I mean, I felt bowled over the entire fight. I mean, yeah, that's just gross. Look at that. So yeah, I'm hanging on by a thread here. Again, the awakening point's helping because once he gets back into player mode, it's a little bit easier to deal with him. He's not dealing as much damage. Plus, most mages, once they go back into their class mode, are healing and buffing. But maybe if I gotten this heal back, this heal in on time, it would have helped a little. But I mean, he's sylphs and I'm done for. Somehow the smallest of my sylphs is hanging on. Must have not taken one of the bigger hits from his sylph, so technically it did go down to the timer. So these are all like 3-minute long fights. These are long fights. Here's Kavla, who really had me worried. I feel like I must have had maybe a little bit of a BR advantage, but not much. But maybe a resistance advantage against her, from what I remember. It just felt that way. But I've played her in BG recently and was rather concerned. Another one I was concerned about was Asher. There's just a few mages that it seemed to be really moving up, or on the upswing as far as BR goes. I think I'm hanging by a thread as far as having a competitive BR. I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage that this month. But we'll see. So I guess I'm getting a Centauria out. I think I dawdle a lot here, and it's not always a good thing. Some of it I can't help because she does have a Medusa. So if you have a Medusa and a Dark Pet with Awe, you can actually stop your opponent from getting into Sylph mode for a while. It's just enough so that I have to do another skill in order to awaken. I don't know why I didn't Sylph just here. Probably I wanted to be able to use a real skill and still be able to get into double hits, but maybe that wasn't a sacrifice that was super necessary. Might have been better to just Sylph. But I take a rather conservative approach, I guess, and go ahead and heal. Good thing, too, that it was when it was, because then I get Devil's Gaze on me, which reduces my healing. I'm not as sensitive about runes as when we had regular troops. I think when there isn't so much going on with the troops and everything, somehow the timing with Guardian Rune was so delicate and it was so important. But now there's so much crap going around in the fight that I think maybe I just don't care as much, or I don't know, but I switch between Amnesia and Guardian Rune in Sylph mode without too much discretion. At the beginning, sometimes I like to use Guardian Rune to block a couple of not Damnations, some of the Thunders. You know, I think every little bit of damage reduced counts, and so I wanted to make sure that, you know, if it was coming down to a timer, I really want to be the person who wins. Obviously that doesn't work against Moran, but, you know, he hits like a truck. I think Moran, his actual BR, because towards the end, actually at the very end of the video, I'll show all of the ranking BRs, but that includes the BR of people's Sylphs, and so of their Sylph team. But I think Moran's player BR without all of that is somewhere around 710 to 715k, somewhere around there. So even after potting and everything, I'm probably only about like 15k BR or so, maybe 20k BR over what his unpotted BR is. But yeah. So here, this fight against Ermin does not look so hot for me. Somehow at the time, I don't think I was that concerned. I was I'm a very competitive person. I was very intently playing. Believe me, I was very nervous about this. I had a lot of Beyonce going on, music-wise, to just like try and stay peaceful. But I guess just as far as playing style, it was rather leisurely about getting into Sylph mode, which is maybe not the most diligent thing. I definitely know, last month I was very concerned. I wanted to Sylph first. I wanted to have the advantage in whatever way I had it in my head that was an advantage at the time. Now I kind of actually much prefer Sylphing second. Something expires at midnight. Zedhead. Oh, I thought that was my opponent. Never mind. So here I got lucky. I don't think Devil's Gaze is a player priority skill, so it didn't have to hit him, but it did. And so that helped me out a lot. Just have to clear his troops, which is not always a small task. If you guys watch my prelims video, it's very important to clear the troops. The reason why I was able to beat Gruntar in my last fight in the prelims is because he wasn't able to, he didn't get enough AoE damage onto my Sylphs, and that's a huge part of the damage dealt. It's very obvious to me that absolutely the damage dealt to your Sylph troops is part of the damage dealt, and so you don't want to go. If you have a single target pet like Hercules, you really want to win. You want to kill them, or else you're gonna have a bit of trouble being the one ahead on damage dealt, because a player with a Sylph that has a big AoE is gonna deal a lot more damage in total, because they can attack the troops and attack the player at the same time. So here, yeah, I love Hercules in pretty much every other part of the game, except for apparently this class war setup. Here's Eleonora, another Kabam player. Kind of hope that we get a merge with their server. That he's with server 7, and my server could really use some more players. So, and I think they're a friendly bunch. I think it would be fun to have some more mages on my server too, and he's on a server with I think Daphne and Helsing and them. So I think that would be fun. So here it's really panning out well with Medusa. I think everybody's gonna have at least one now. I am a little bit concerned that people will start using 2 Medusas, in which case then I'm like, well, now do I need 3 Medusas? But I think that might be overkill. But this is very fun. Here's Garlic, who recently has been a much tougher opponent for me. Once upon a time, I definitely had a lot more wins against her, and then her BR went up, and she's much more competitive BR with me. She's a good player, so she started getting a lot more wins off of me. This Sylph combination that Garlic has is very, very good, and I think probably the next best, or maybe even better than having 2 Medusas. It really depends. I think for the higher BR people that having that Triton and having an ice shield or ice arm, something that, a front row shield is really, really nice and a very, very strong play. It's maybe a more balanced combo, having, Medusa be an attack support and Triton be a defensive support, but I think having 2 steals is just slightly more comical, so, always in good fun. Here I get a nice Guardian rune timing against her Delphic. I was pretty pleased about that. Oh crap, nice idea. Thank you. I try. Again, I show everybody everything I do for Class Wars. What I want to build, what Sylphs I bring, how I like to play. So, if I want to have any surprises or be even remotely non-predictable, pretty much have to come up with something new every month. Here, I think I'm a little concerned about HP. Even just watching this, I'm not feeling super good about it. need to take out those troops, but that's a little bit difficult. Especially when the only skills that I have left are this like single target thing. You know, some people still bring Rain of Fire into this, which I think is a reasonable idea because a lot of the sylphs still make it through the first set of sylph mode and you want to take them out. For me, I mean, I really prioritize. I do not use Death's Harvest or my Delphic unless I know for absolute sure that they are going to hit the sylphs, because the last thing that I want are those sylphs alive. Sylphs give so much support, so #1 priority when you're thinking about this type of PvP is to clear those sylph troops. They're just too deadly to, you know, leave, especially 2 of them still alive. So Solara and Moran tied for first with 6 wins, and I'm somewhere around there with 1 loss against Moran. So I think everybody just clears. You know, everybody gains 2 losses, other than Solara and Moran directly from those 2. I think 1, they just have the biggest BR advantage, just really, really big. And I think Lala, even though she has the right amount of BR to be that competitive, at the time I talked to her and she didn't have the resistances for it, which are a really, really, really big part. So yeah, so without the resistances, it's a big problem. So really, the people most set up as far as build goes are Solara and Moran here, and so they just, I think, bowl over everybody. Solara's been my buddy for a while, and so I always like to talk to him about the game and strategy. He's also a very competitive guy, so I know he wants to win, and he really pushes for it. Even though I socialize and get along with pretty much every player in the top 16 that I end up talking to, I think because I'm even more competitive with my friends, the friendlier I get with people, the more that I really, really want to beat them. So maybe that's a foul part of my personality, but it's okay. But yeah, just here he just wrecks me. There's nothing else to it. He gets into Sylph mode. He keeps me out of Sylph mode because his Medusa steals on me, so I can't get into Sylph mode. And then he has Awe, and that keeps me out of Sylph mode. So it's all just too much. He just clears me out. My troops are just sitting ducks without me there. So yeah. And here I'm just giving him a little forewarning about fighting Moran because yeah, Moran was very, very tough. Had a similar feel as far as like just how much damage he dealt against me as Solara does here. I think Solara has more attack though, so I think he was still dealing more damage than Moran was. Moran felt much tankier though, even though like I don't do crap to Solara here either. Moran seemed to just feel a little bit tougher to beat. It's particularly the sylphs, these two, Moran and Solara. I don't know what it is, if it has something to do with the player BR as well, or they just have crazy sylph gear on their, non-main sylph. But, I mean, I didn't do crap to either of their sylphs, so do not know. But my 2 Medusas, not enough for that kind of BR gap, apparently. Here's Rydia. That seems to be a new face, so maybe she'll be an up and coming, but here I think I have a bit of an advantage just seeing that one Thunder, how much it does to her. I think it's mostly a defense and BR advantage. She's on Wartune 200, so who knows, she might even not have like great percentage astrals, just working up her BR so much on a younger server. I mean, 200, depending on who you're talking to, is not a young server, but I guess by Class Wars top 16 standards it is. So here's more what I think should happen is kind of like Damnation, and then right as my opponent's sylphs, I go into sylph, hit the Amnesia, and hope it screws up all their nasty plans. And if I get an Amnesia on them in time, and and it blocks their Delphic, and then my Medusas are able to steal all their awakening, then, you know, it's a real doozy as far as, you know, blocking their Delphics and things like that. So that Delphic didn't seem to do much against their Sylphs. It's like the Sylphs just like randomly decide, I'm not going to take any damage. It's very strange. Victory. So, Gruntar, myself, Matt D, tied for third, and I get Gruntar. Gruntar, I think, has a Sylph disadvantage here, but he still does really well. I'm sure that bleed rune, that notorious bleed rune, just messed up so many people in the finals and the prelims, just in general. But as far as Sylph troops go, I think he's at a disadvantage. I think anybody without a Medusa or a Triton or both is gonna struggle as far as buffs go. You know, Athena doesn't really buff much. You know, she can deal a lot of damage, and she does AoE and help kill the troops a little bit. Hercules, oh god, it's just a completely useless Sylph. I think the only point of putting Hercules as a troop is if Hercules, you know, is obviously one of the strongest Sylphs most people have, and they build it up, and so if you don't have another troop that can, you know, stay up for more than a couple of hits, then I guess Hercules is your choice. But as far as just helpful set of skills, I think the only strong combination for class wars for where Hercules might be appropriate is if you bring Athena as your main Sylph and then have Hercules for the 30% MDEF reduction. But for mages, that's not really something I think anybody would do. So yeah, I push him out of Sylph mode here, and that really helps. And just let the Medusas kind of work their magic with the steals and the buffs. Yeah, I think even with the heal here, it's not too bad. Yeah, that's a dinky heal. Is that just not crit healing, or is... Huh, seems a little strange. Those steals are just so mean. Like, it's really one thing to steal from your opponent. It's a completely different thing to, like, steal it and give it back to the owner. It's kind of... They're not, like normal troops at all. You know, if you're chaosed, you don't hit your own Sylph troops. So it's more like having multiple Sylphs with you. No, okay, that's not what I meant either. But it's like I have a Dark Sylph equipped called with me, so it's more like having 3 Sylphs called, because they deal damage outside of Sylph mode as well, doing those little attacks. So it's like, I think of Sylph attacks like that more like almost like inherent bleed damage. But yeah, it's something with these Sylph troops. The only other place we've seen the Sylph troops, I think, are Cloud Adventures, which, I mean, Cloud Adventures, whatever, but I feel like they'll become a more integral part of the game. I think this is where the direction is going. I don't think regular troops are going to be that relevant, other than maybe, I don't know, God's Ascent, Skytrail, Necropolis, things like that. God, I hate CW now. I had a few conversations throughout Class Wars here with some of the players, you know, some more brief than others, about, I think some people are a little bit discouraged. You know, not everybody is like me where they just get excited when they see a new system like this. Some people are more used to comfort, or they'll, you know, get used to being able to do something, or have a hard time adjusting, and that's okay. Honestly, it's just a personality thing, I think, and so I think Lala was struggling a bit here, and so that can be pretty frustrating. But I encourage people to at least try and embrace the new patches, new things going on, and try and find a way to do well here. You know, in my opinion, you know, Medusa is the Sylph for this. It just, so OP. I was talking to some people who had seen my preliminaries video, and oh, like maybe you should consider a heal rune. And I'm really glad that I didn't end up feeling like I had to go back to a heal rune. I actually really preferred an amnesia here for the most part. You know, I think because I fought Gruntar 3 times in prelims, it definitely felt like, oh, maybe I need this heal rune, because a heal rune really would be better against a blood rune player than an amnesia is. But yeah, I'm glad I kind of ignored that instinct to go to a more conservative set of runes, just because I think it's better to help yourself be a little bit more aggressive here. Chuck Norris and Matt D. Matt D and I, when I had a stint, a one-time stint, at least in recent months, in Warriors Hall, which is the Class Wars final hall for ranks 17 through 100. I think I fought Matt 5 times through that, and so I feel like we had a certain bond through that Class Wars experience, and we got in touch, and so we've been chatting ever since. And so he had a rough idea of what my plans were here in Class Wars, and I had a general idea of what he was gonna do, but it was still fun to play him, and this time have it be in Warlords Hall, because usually Matt cannot, wiggle his way into the top 17 by BR. Be gentle. I almost beat damn Garlic. And I thought he had him. I think Garlic's a woman. I think Garlic has at some point in time corrected me for using male pronouns for her. But anyway, and Matt actually does really, really well here. For a while, he was tied with me on for win record, and he probably has one of the lowest BRs of the bunch, and does really well. I think a big part of it is attributed to how much dark resistance he has. I think he has like 2 or 3 advanced dark dimensions, and I think well over 1300 dark resistance. Definitely more than I do, put it that way. And I had 11 or 1200. The amount of dark resistance, it almost makes you just want to use Athena, and I just, I had a lot of nerve to like try something or use lower BR Sylphs as troops, but bringing Athena I think is just like a step too crazy for me. Plus you would take just so much more damage. I mean, anything under 1000 dark resistance here, it's gonna hurt, because everybody has, like close to 1000 or more than 1000 reduced resistance as well. So these are all players who have many advanced dimensions going. For me, I could not for the life of me get an advanced dark dimension, so I have 4 intermediate dark dimensions on right now, and 1 electro advanced one, which was more like a daily use thing, and I didn't want to get rid of it just for Class Wars. But yeah, dark resistance is obviously the most important here. The exception always being Ray 7, who is just awesome about insisting upon using Medusa. So yeah, I won on damage dealt against Matt. I wasn't that concerned about that fight. Oh, here's a buy. Somebody must have been missing. But yeah, actually against Matt, as far as damage dealt, because I had such a longer stint in Sylph mode, I wasn't too concerned, even though I wasn't able to take out his troops. So here, at this point, it was pretty clear to me that Solara took a loss to Moran. So Moran has a clear lead. Here's Ray. I actually have a pretty good record against Ray in Class Wars. I can't remember the last time I actually lost to her, at least in finals in Class Wars, really ever. But in BG, I mean, she always gets a win off of me somewhere in there. I think Ray, insisting on using Medusa is very, very fun. I think it's her trademark. but yeah, it's amazing. Here, I'm kind of surprised that she pushes to get into Sylph mode so quickly. It actually ended up being a good move on her part, but I was interested to see her. She went for that steal super early, which I guess is fine. I couldn't figure out if she was trying to keep me out of Sylph mode, or just knew I was going to Sylph and therefore started the steal early. I'm not totally sure. But here, I mean, I have some wind resistance. I have some crystals in, but I would say that my wind resistance is probably at most a few hundred, and she just wipes out my Sylph. You know, Medusa has so many nice AoEs that, you know, more than the dark pets do. So actually clearing troops. You know, Ray had a really good record in this for the most part, and was quite competitive with me. Had I not done as well against everybody else as I had, this fight would have been an issue for me. So here, even with the one Medusa, I really tried to stay in Sylph mode and see if I could take her out. But I run out of Awakening because I only have one of my Medusas with me, and yeah, just not quite enough. She healed out of it, and so now I'm in a lot of trouble because she's way ahead of me on getting back into Sylph mode, and so I was quite concerned at this point. Some nice amnesia. And of course she sylphs out of the majority of the amnesia I just put on her. So yeah, pretty much at this point it's just done for. That's huge. So yeah, I mean, this just shows how big of a deal resistances are. Because, you know, Moran, Solara have way more attack than Ray 7 does. But with their dark pets, I mean, they dealt a lot of damage, and definitely the most out of the people who were carrying dark pets. But I mean, Ray dealt way more damage than they did. Granted, it was in the 100% buff, but even so, just like even outside of that, with the regular like 0 or 50% buffs, I mean, she was dealing so much damage, largely because, you know, I didn't have a ton of wind resistance. So yeah, I mean, you can definitely, you know, work your way into a good strategy for class wars, sometimes just by picking an unpopular Sylph, as a main Sylph anyway. I think everybody's catching on to the Medusa thing now. Here's Smartass, another good friend of mine. She's the only one who puts her troops in the front, which I think is a questionable choice. You know, the troops don't have as much defense as the players, obviously, and so, you know, everybody brings a dark pet, and so I immediately think, oh, I can heal myself by hitting one of these troops with Devour Soul instead of, you know, usually Devour Soul will hit the player and it doesn't, you know, recover nearly as much HP. So I think that was a little bit of an odd choice. Otherwise, I think she was outclassed a bit in BR. I don't know about resistances because she's always showing me all these expert and advanced dimensions that I have not been able to obtain myself. But I think just BR is more of an issue here. Oh, my kissy face didn't go through. Pity. And so yeah, last round coming up. Moran is cleaning house. Here I just know that I just have to win this, and I can be guaranteed third place. Here I start fighting like I would normally with Ariel, but it seems you know, we get talking and she says that she's not going to do this fight. Again, I think some people are, you know, get a little bit discouraged. Preliminaries is a little bit more competitive in the sense that, you know, most of these players will have fights that they'll win and lose, but for people towards the lower BR and lower resistance end of finals in Warlords Hall, I think it's a little bit tough because they're taking a ton of losses, and these are players who are probably very used to winning on a regular basis. But Ariel is sometimes in Warriors Hall, and I'm sure she's not going to be sitting around not killing anybody in that case. So sort of anticlimactic ending to Class Wars Finals, but not the end of the world. I still had a really, really nice time. Had a particularly good time trying out these 2 Medusas, which I think was surprisingly successful. I had it in my head, I just wanted to at least turn heads with that a little bit, but I wasn't necessarily thinking that it would be super, super successful. So I'm pleased about that. Moran sweeped house, got 15 wins, and then I had 3 for third. Solara got second, just taking that 1 loss against Moran. So big congrats to them and everybody else who felt like they did well in finals or any of Class Wars. You know, everybody has to set their own standard. You know, servers are at different ages. You know, set a goal for yourself and feel good about whatever you can achieve. So I did this last time, and just wanting to show the ranking, show the relative BR, so people can see. You know, these are team BRs, so it's a little harder to tell. You know, Moran has, I think, well over 20k BR on me, maybe more like 30k or so. But if I had used, say, Athena on my team, I actually would have probably had more team BR than he did here, because he was using Triton and Medusa, and Athena's give more BR than those do. So it's hard to tell, but definitely Moran, Solara, Lala probably had the most BR. I think Rentar is probably somewhere up there, and maybe Garlic. I don't know. There are a lot of them that have quite a bit. You know, my BR actually was probably pretty competitive here. I did put on every single temporary mount and pushed as much as I could to get some more BR for this, just because I felt like it was probably one of the last times I can really try and be competitive in this Class Wars. I mean, we can see. I'll always try. I will always try my best in Class Wars, but I am a little bit concerned about future ones. So yeah. I mean, I was feeling pretty good, and I had a lot of fun. So big thanks to all my opponents and to all of you for watching, and so I hope you enjoyed. Take care and have a very good day.